Hello guys and welcome back to the video. So in this video we have to talk about Tesla. There is so many videos on YouTube saying that, Tesla in the short term is going to be effed and the price has dropped 25%. And somehow it's so funny that when the price is going up, everybody's sentiment is that this company is the best company ever and they're so resilient, and Elon Musk, and he's such a good CEO. And then when the stock price going down, then suddenly Elon Musk is distracted. This is just a car company and, margins, and it's so overvalued. And we are in that phase. So I want to give you my 2 cents on this and what I'm doing regarding Tesla stock. As you know, about 85% of my portfolio is in Palantir and the rest is in Tesla. And to be honest, it's looking really, really good that the price is falling. So if I manage to put my hands on some money, need to open an OnlyFans here so you guys can subscribe there, I will probably be adding to my Tesla position. So I want to give you my 2 cents on what's happening with the stock. And let's start with a video by Farzad. And I was thinking about remaking in my own what he says in this video, but the truth is I can't do it better than him, and this is a super good explanation. So I'm just going to play a small part of this video for you guys, and then I'm going to tell you my opinion, because I don't fully agree with every number that he puts out, but it's a very good part.
And if you're enjoying this content so far, give me a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. So Tesla has a goal of 20 million cars per year by 2030. A lot of people say this is a crazy goal. So okay, let's give that to the folks that maybe are doubting that. Let's cut it in half. And let's assume Tesla gets to 10 million units by 2030 per year. This is a chart of what that would look like from a sales perspective. This red line is how much Tesla is selling every single year. And you can see by 2030 mark, they'll be at 10 million units sold. But the key thing that I really want you to focus on is this fleet size. A fleet size basically is how many Teslas are on the road, how many total cars Tesla has sold up through 2030. And you can see that even if they reach half of their target by 2030 of 10 million, the fleet size by 2030 is much closer to 38 million units. And so if they reach half their goal by 2030, that means 38 million Teslas on the road by that year. Now, in case you're not familiar, Tesla is working on a full self-driving software solution that's going to allow every Tesla vehicle to drive itself without a driver sometime in the next couple years, very similar to what you see in places like San Francisco, Austin, and other areas from providers like Cruise or Waymo. Basically what it means is that there'll be no driver required anymore. The cars will drive themselves, and every car sold right now from Tesla has the hardware necessary to achieve this, and all they need is a software update. Now, once Tesla achieves self-driving by 2030, let's assume by then 20% of Tesla's purchase in that year will buy this full self-driving software at $21,000 that will allow them to either operate it for their own self, just driving around, or rather the car driving them around town, or they can add it to the fleet where they can potentially generate money from that car, just like an Uber. So let's say 10% of the fleet by 2030 is part of this robotaxi fleet of this Tesla network where people can just hail a car and it will come pick them up without a driver. And under that scenario, let's do some very simple math on how much it would potentially cost. Let's say $1 per mile. Let's say Tesla keeps 20% of that dollar, so they keep 20 cents on every dollar that somebody spends to get driven around. And let's say the average robotaxi does about 20,000 miles per year. Now, if I look at the dollar per mile, that's significantly less than an Uber, where it's much closer to $1.08, even $2 in a lot of cases. Tesla taking home 20% is less than what Uber takes home from a driver, and 20,000 miles per year seems like a very conservative estimate on how much, let's say, a taxi driver would drive their car per year. I know people that drive way more than that without even being a taxi driver. So I feel like these numbers are pretty conservative and realistic. Now, if we put all those numbers together, this equals to $50 billion in profit in 2030 at 100% margin. And the reason why it's 100% margin is, again, this is a software update. Tesla has already sold the cars with the hardware. The cost is baked into making the car for that hardware, for the camera system and the computer. And so the $50 billion in profit that comes from the software should be 100% margin. It just flows to the bottom line because they've already baked in all the costs into the cars today. If we apply a very conservative price to earnings ratio that's really saved for large companies that aren't growing really fast of 20 price earnings, this equals to about $1.14 trillion in market cap. However, this begs the question, if Tesla was going to solve autonomy, where is the market cap today? If we look at the price for Tesla stock today, it's $238, and the car business, the energy business, and whatever else they're working on is at $756 billion of value for the company. That 1.1 number we just went through is strictly from software sales. It doesn't include any other sales from the company. So one would have to ask the question, where is the market cap for that autonomy? Now let's go ahead and look at it from a different perspective that I think is really going to drive home the point that this is not baked into the stock price. So let's go back to the example that Sawyer had around the price decrease in China, where Tesla had about a $2,000 decrease or 5%. This chart describes how much a Model Y made in China costs and how much profit it's likely to bring in to Tesla for every one they sell. We can assume that it costs Tesla about $32,000 to manufacture, and then once they sell the car, they make about $8,000 of profit on it, which is about 20% margin, which is how much Tesla's making today. Now you can see that after you take that $2,000 price cut, the profit goes from $8,000 to $6,000. So it still costs you $32,000, but you lose $2,000 of profit. Now the way of thinking about it is that 25% of the profit is gone after that price decrease. However, here's what it looks like with autonomy. And this is why I think anytime there's an announcement like this that a price decrease has occurred and the stock goes down, that they're not looking at it from this perspective. Let's go ahead and take the same exact assumptions as we had before. FSD at $21,000 to purchase the software, charging $1 per mile for somebody to ride-hail a full self-driving Tesla. Tesla takes home about 20%, and the robotaxi operates 20,000 miles per year. Now, the key thing here to keep in mind is that this car is not just going to operate for 1 year. This car is going to operate over 10 years at least. This is the average length of operation of any car out there today. It's about 10 years. Some people like to keep their cars for like 3 or 4 years, but most people keep their cars for at least 10 years, especially if you're a business. And so after we take into account how much profit the car will generate over time, this is what the new chart looks like. You still give up the $2,000 from the price decrease, and instead of making $8,000, you made $6,000 on the profit of the car. But in reality, you also have to add on top of that the $21,000 that Tesla's going to charge you for purchasing the software, and the $40,000 Tesla will make over the course of 10 years for taking a 20% cut for every single ride that's done on their network. This is...
By the way, this is brilliant how he's showing it, and this is exactly what Elon Musk was referring to on the earnings call, that they could technically sell the cars at a loss or break even and make up the money later. And I really loved how he showed this chart. Now, just how conservative he was thinking, the 20%, I believe on the earnings call, Musk was saying that it would be 50-50 split with the drivers, maybe 55-45, how Google does with the ad revenue. So he's counting very, very pessimistic here. Just want to point that out.
Correct way of looking at the profitability of a car within the context of a price reduction for a Tesla. And so within that context, each car brings in $87,000 in profit over the life of the vehicle on a car that costs $32,000 to manufacture. So think about how much a 5% decrease on a $40,000 car really means when the car is bringing in over $67,000 in profit over the course of the vehicle. Seems pretty small, doesn't it? Another way of thinking about it is that the car is going to bring in 2 times in profit alone versus how much it costs to make the car. This equals about 67% margins on a car, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that cost decrease impact of 25% to the total cost of the vehicle goes down by over 92%. And I'm sure it's very clear to see when there's a $2,000 price decrease on a car that doesn't have autonomy, it seems like a lot, but then you compare it to how much the car can bring in over 10 years and it becomes so small, basically insignificant within the whole picture of what Tesla's going to be able to do from a profit perspective. But here's the thing where I disagree with, because he makes it seem like in the calculation that every car that they sell is going to bring in this much. So obviously it's only the cars where the buyers opt in for the full self-driving and where the buyers opt in into the robotaxi network. And currently, we don't know what percentage that is. He started the video with saying 10%. I believe that's a very, very conservative. I think it will for sure be more than that. I know for a fact it's not going to be 100%. And another thing that I want to add here is he's saying that the robotaxi is going to be 100% profit. And I understand where he's coming from because Tesla has already made the car. But
you're going to need, and it's definitely going to be 100% gross profit, because you don't need any materials to deliver this service, but you're going to need employees to keep up the robotaxi fleet. You're going to need lawyers, a legal department, an HR department. There is going to be cost, but it's going to be very, very profitable. It's just not going to be 100%.
This is using some pretty conservative numbers, in my opinion, if autonomy were to be solved. Let's go ahead and take it further based on what Tesla says is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And let's think about this within the context of Tesla's compact car / robotaxi that's really designed to take the company to its targeted volume of 20 million cars per year by 2030. Under this scenario, let's assume that this $25,000 compact car takes about $20,000 to produce, because it's going to be much smaller and much cheaper to produce, using their latest manufacturing processes and so on, whatever Tesla figures out how to do. And now that we know that a fleet runner can take home a ton of money from running a car in its robotaxi fleet, it becomes obvious that Tesla is going to charge a lot more than $20,000 for that software. Let's assume it's about $40,000 for the same software, and let's also say that someone's going to run it for about 40,000 miles per year instead of 20,000, which is way closer to real life right now. A lot of taxi drivers, a lot of people that own cars that they use for Uber, they're much closer to this number than the 20,000 mile number, especially here in the United States. Let's keep it at the same dollar per mile figure and a 20% take home for Tesla. And so from that perspective, on the left here is how much Tesla would take home with a compact car under those assumptions versus an existing Model Y made in China under the old assumptions. Now, the reason why it's important to look at it this way is because Tesla is manufacturing a car that's specifically used to solve the robotaxi variable. It's not going to be a Model Y or Model 3. It's going to be a brand new vehicle that's going to be designed from the ground up to be run for hundreds, potentially a million miles plus, and it's ready to serve people in a robotaxi driverless sort of network. So the profit to Tesla per car sold goes from $67,000 to $125,000 in profit per vehicle over 10 years. And under that scenario, the fleet runner, so the person who's purchased the robotaxi and the software, takes home $40,000 per year per robotaxi instead of $20,000 per year, because they're running it twice as long, much closer to what Uber drivers and other fleet runners are doing today with their vehicles. And so even when full self-driving is $40,000, FSD will still pay for itself in 1 year, because the utilization of the car is much closer to reality than the 20,000 mile figure we used earlier. And if we take this scenario, we still assume that Tesla will miss its 2030 target by half, and they do 10 million units in 2030 at a 20 price earnings multiple, which is the same conservative number we used previously. That equals to $2.4 trillion in market cap from Autonomy alone. Remember, today's market cap is closer to $750 billion. So the question becomes, where is this market cap? And if Tesla were to hit its 20 million goal per year by 2030, then the same math becomes about $4 trillion in market cap from Autonomy alone. And so the question becomes again, where is this market cap? But let's take it.
So this was the part that I wanted to show you. So this is why it's really, really interesting that if you believe in FSD, if you don't believe in FSD, this stock is not for you. You can end the due diligence. It's a very expensive car stock. But if you believe, which is most long-term Tesla shareholders, then if you shit your pants just because there is price drops, you are missing the whole picture. So, and this was such a good way of presenting it to you. Again, he makes a lot of assumptions like it's going to be 100% profit. It's not going to be that. It's going to be every car sold. It's not going to be every car sold that makes this. And he does assume that Tesla misses their growth target by half. And he assumes a very, very low P for the stock. And he still gets a 2-point-something trillion dollar valuation. Everybody needs to do their own valuation. I'm going to do one and post on the channel. But remember when Tesla was at $100 and people were not buying because it was going to go to 60. I don't know how low the stock price of Tesla is going to go. All I know is that God gave us a chance to DCA into this stock at a reasonable price. And if it's below your price target and you believe in the long-term story of Tesla, you need to pull the trigger and DCA into this fantastic company. There is just no other way. So this was the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.